Let's talk about self-determination. Kí ni self-determination? Àti pé tá a bá ní self-determination, kí ni à ń pè bẹ́ẹ̀? Ẹ jẹ́ ká gbọ́ nǹkan tí United Nations Charter and Resolutions tó sọ nípa self-determination. Chapter 1, Article 1, Part 2 stated that the stated purpose of the United Nations Charter is to develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal right and self-determination of peoples, and to take other appropriate measures to strengthen universal peace. Now, tí a ti ní a background idea of that, tá a bá tẹ̀síwájú lórí tí United Nations sọ nípa self-determination, a rí i pé ó ní ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ ló sọ nínú ẹ̀. Kí ni United Nations Security Council sọ? Purpose and principles of United Nations of UN Charter. Article 1 and 2 of the Charter of the United Nations outline the purposes and principles of the United Nations. The retro individually covers several of the paragraphs in Article 1 and 2. Under each section are found lists of implicit references and explicit references to the specific paragraph of the article from the meeting records, reports, letters that have been issued as official documents of the Security Council. Now, ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ sí equal right and self-determination. Ẹ bá padà sí orí tí wọ́n sọ níbẹ̀. Article 1 and 2 establish that one of the purpose of the United Nations and thus the Security Council is to develop friendly international relations based on respect for the principle of equal right and self-determination of peoples. The case study in this section cover instances where Security Council has discussed situations with bearing on the principle of self-determination and the right of the peoples to decide their own government, which may relate to the questions of independence, autonomy, referendum, elections, and legitimacy of government. Now, mo fẹ́ ká lọ wo referendum yẹn. Tá bá wá sí inú headline yìí tó jáde ní orí CNN, vote no or vote yes. What does that mean? Far from uniting the nation, ìyẹn ní Australia, Voice referendum has revealed its priorities and prejudice, dated and published on the 7th of October 2023. Ìyẹn ní Brisbane, ní Australia, CNN. Within the first 15 seconds of his victory speech in May 2022, the newly elected Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, forewarned the country of the next big vote. Lẹ́yìn tí wọ́n dìbò fún tán, ó ní kó tún máa retí another vote. Kí ni vote yẹn fẹ́ wà fún? Òun náà ni referendum. Ó ní there will be a referendum within his first term to recognize indigenous Australians in the Constitution and create a permanent body, a voice to Parliament to allow them to speak directly to the government. Ǹjẹ́ ní Nàìjíríà tí a wà lénìí, ǹjẹ́ President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, ǹjẹ́ òun náà lè gbé ìgbésẹ̀ lẹ́yìn ìgbà tí wọ́n ti dìbò election tán, kó wá jẹ́ kí wọ́n dìbò referendum gẹ́gẹ́ bí Australian àti ìjọba Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. Táwọn bá lè ṣe ní Australia, ó jẹ́ kí President Bola Tinubu náà, ó jẹ́ kóun náà lè recognize the indigenous people of Biafra, the Yorubas, the Arewas, and all the other ethnic groups tó ń bẹ nínú Nigeria. Kó wá enshrine sínú Constitution Nigeria, and that would then make things go further. All of us ought to be proud that amongst our great multicultural society, recount the oldest living continuous culture in the world. Did you hear that? Culture. Albanese, ìyẹn Prime Minister Australia, said to cheers from his supporters, Australians will be asked just one question, ìbéèrè ẹyọ kan péré, and their answer will herald a new era for indigenous relations more than 200 years after British settlers crashed onto their shores, occupied their land, and terrorized their ancestors. Just like after 108 years, can we ask just one question, whether we still want to remain Nigerians or not? It will be a way to show that times are changed, that after centuries of being subjugated by the settlers' law, Australia First Nations people were being given a place in the nation's founding document and a seat at the table. But less than a week before the final day of the voting, polls are pointing to a no, and what was sold as unifying moment now appears to have collapsed in a tangle of conflict opinions about who deserves what. Ẹ ṣe jẹ́ káwa náà kọ́kọ́ gbèrè fún referendum kí àwọn ọba wa àti àwọn gómìnà ilẹ̀ Yorùbá kọ́ push kọ́ lobby fún referendum nínú constitution nínú Nàìjíríà láti lè béèrè ìbéèrè bóyá àwa ọmọ Yorùbá bí a fẹ́ dúró àbá fẹ́ lọ. There is a parallel with what is occurred in the United States and Britain with the BRICS exit referendum, said Paul Stragio, a professor of politics at Monash University. It is those who feel in some way aggrieved about their place in the nation that are rallying most to the no side of the debate. Kò sí bá ṣe fẹ́ béèrè fún referendum náà, àṣírí àwọn ẹ̀yà tó máa sọ pé àwọn ò fẹ́, àwọn sì fẹ́ Nàìjíríà, àmọ́ kọ́tẹ̀ kọ́kọ́ jẹ́ ká béèrè náà. Yes, voters participate in community event in Sydney, ìyẹn ní July ọdún yìí. An early rush of support. The Yes campaign needs majority support across the country. Ìdí tá a ṣe ń ṣe rally, tá a ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ ní ojoojúmọ́ láti fi ṣe àwọn èèyàn lọ́kàn, láti jẹ́ kó mọ ìdí tí ìran Yorùbá tó gbọdọ̀ kúrò nínú Nàìjíríà nígbà tí àsìkò bá fẹ́ dé fún referendum. No other Australian referendum has passed without bipartisan political backing. But in the heather aftermath of the Labour's election win, it seems that anything was possible. New government ló ń bẹ ní Nigeria. There's nothing tí kò possible if they have the zeal to put it together. So while we are also campaigning for the right to self-determination, it is not a crime to ask for that right. That right is not currently in the 1999 Constitution as amended, but it can be put together and make it happen. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ní right o. Tá a bá lọ sí gbogbo àwọn ọdún yìí láti 1959 títí dé 1963, a rí i pé láti ìgbà tó pẹ́ làwọn èèyàn ti ń béèrè fún ẹ̀tọ́ wọn gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹ̀tọ́ tí ó dẹ̀ ti di dandan pé ẹ̀tọ́ yẹn gbọ́dọ̀ wá síbùṣẹ. Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí, self-determination is not a crime. Self-determination must be a discussion on the table, a negotiation, a dialogue between the parties that wants to exit Nigeria and the parties that doesn't want it as well. This is just one of different articles tó ti jáde rí, considerations of provisions of Article 1 of Chapter 1, to develop friendly relations among nations based on the respect for the principle of the equal rights and self-determinations of peoples, and to take other appropriate measures to strengthen the universal peace. Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí, note, the two case histories listed in this part deal with the first instance of the consideration of the provisions of Article 1 in the proceeding of a case complained by Portugal in the connection with a draft resolution submitted by France. Kò ń ṣe àwa la máa kọ́kọ́ béèrè fún territory wa padà. This was with the draft resolution submitted by France, Turkey, the United Kingdom, and the United States, revealing the provisions of Article 1, 2, voted upon and failed of adoption 18th of December 1961. That was 1 year after tí Nigeria gba independent. during the consideration of the Portuguese complaint concerning India's aggression against Goa, Damo, and Diu, a draft resolution was submitted calling for the cessation of hostilities, the withdrawal of Indian forces, and the solution by a peaceful means of their differences were made in a debate. The principle of self-determination was considered by the representative of India as inapplicable in the case of the population of Goa, Damo, and Diu, and the reference to Article 1 was also questioned by another representatives as inconsistent with the operative part of the draft. Ìjọ kan máa wà tírú draft náà máa wáyé pẹ̀lú àwa àti Nigerian government nígbà tó bá máa wáyé kó bẹ́ẹ̀mí àti ẹ láyọ̀ àtàláfíà. Eléyìí ni ìpàdé tó ṣe ní United Nations tó ń pè ní 987th meeting on the 18th of December 1961, when the president, speaking as representative of United Arab Republic, stated that peoples of the territories of Goa, Damo, and Diu never had the right of self-determination and had not been consulted on whether or not they agreed to their integration with Portugal. Just like báwa náà ṣe agree with that union of the 1914 amalgamation. These are all why we say self-determination needs to be explained further to many people. We will not be the first asking for that right, and we will never be the last asking for it as well. You can find all this reference from this particular broadcast from UN website www.un.org/security council/content/purpose and principles UN chapter. And the news for the Australia that is coming up, the referendum, is on the CNN. The headline says, "Far from uniting the nation, Australia voice referendum has revealed its priorities and prejudice." My name is Olami Koiki. This is self-determination, inalienable right. Koiki Media, bringing the world closer to your doorstep, the night of October 2023. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to share so that someone else can know the full meaning of self-determination. Bye for now.